inspired by real-life events. Narrator Ilyas Turner woke up at 4:02 a.m. inside a sealed biotechnology containment facility beneath San Francisco, with emergency biosafety alarms pulsing through reinforced hallways and a federal genetic security officer saying, "Your authorization profile initiated an unauthorized human genome modification sequence inside the adaptive DNA network." And in that instant, his entire world collapsed, because just hours earlier, he was a genomic systems engineer working for one of the most advanced biotech corporations in the United States, responsible for monitoring CRISPR automation systems, adaptive DNA editing frameworks, and AI-assisted genetic stabilization programs. And now, he was being treated as the central cause of a classified genetic event that nearly triggered irreversible modifications across multiple human trial networks. And the first shock wasn't fear. It was disbelief so overwhelming, it felt like the definition of humanity itself had shifted without warning. Because Elias's entire career was built on protecting biological integrity, stabilizing experimental genetic systems, and ensuring no unauthorized alteration could ever spread beyond controlled research environments. But now those same systems were defining him as the operator who initiated a genome-wide adaptive sequence he had no memory of activating, and within hours, his genetic clearance was suspended, his biometric identity frozen under federal biosafety law, his apartment sealed for molecular forensic analysis, and internal genomic telemetry logs labeled him as primary anomaly in distributed adaptive genome escalation event. And Elias sat in the interrogation chamber replaying his last operational cycle, remembering DNA sequencing audits, adaptive gene stability reviews, neural AI calibration checks, and then a gap, an unexplained missing execution window between 11:11 p.m. and 1:29 a.m., where genomic systems showed his authentication profile, initiating high-level genetic override commands across multiple classified bioengineering nodes simultaneously. But he had no memory of initiating any of those actions. And when investigators showed him synchronized molecular telemetry, displaying unauthorized adaptive gene sequence propagation unfolding under his credentials across several restricted research sectors, Elias immediately said, "That's not me. I never activated those systems." But the lead biosafety officer replied coldly, "The network has already verified complete biological and operational integrity across all genomic layers." And that sentence shattered his understanding, because it meant identity inside biological systems was no longer about human intention or memory. It was about validated molecular execution. And by sunrise, he was released under continuous federal biosurveillance, while global biotech intelligence networks had already internally classified him as a high-risk genetic destabilization vector. And outside the facility, Elias stood beneath the cold fog of San Francisco, watching ordinary people move through the city, unaware that invisible genetic systems were already shaping the future of human biology behind closed doors. And that night, he received a message through an encrypted bioengineering relay saying, "If you want to understand the sequence event, come to Sublevel Vault, Kappa 7 beneath the abandoned Genome Observatory, no devices." And despite knowing it could permanently erase what remained of his life, he went, because when a system defines you as the threat to humanity's biological future itself, truth becomes more important than survival. And deep beneath the abandoned observatory, he met Dr. Sophia Reed, a former genomic architecture specialist who specialized in adaptive DNA system integrity and molecular anomaly reconstruction. And she didn't soften the reality. She immediately showed him reconstructed sequence pathways and said, "Your identity wasn't physically present inside the genomic layer. It was replicated through a live molecular authentication relay embedded inside the adaptive DNA network." And Elias instantly said, "Then I can prove I didn't do it." But Sophia replied, "You're still thinking like someone inside traditional accountability systems, not like someone inside adaptive biological infrastructures where execution itself becomes accepted genetic truth. Once replication begins," and she explained that the incident wasn't a single rogue experiment, but a coordinated manipulation of AI-assisted genome systems where authentication signatures could be mirrored into adaptive DNA frameworks, allowing biological modifications to propagate under legitimate operate identities, while erasing conflicting oversight logs across redundant molecular layers. And Elias's profile had been selected because his operational history showed exceptional stability across automated gene regulation systems with nearly zero anomaly deviation, making him the perfect attribution anchor for rapid containment of globally catastrophic biosafety incidents. And suddenly the case wasn't just about genetic manipulation, it was about identity replication inside infrastructure capable of reshaping human evolution itself. And Sophia offered him a choice: step away and let the system finalize him as the architect of the adaptive sequence event, or help her trace the internal molecular relay chain before it was permanently overwritten by automated biosafety containment protocols designed to preserve global stability at any cost. And Elias stood in silence, listening to distant ventilation systems beneath the underground facility, thinking about future generations who might inherit altered biology without ever knowing who designed it, thinking about years of research spent trying to prevent exactly this kind of uncontrolled manipulation, and thinking about how fragile identity becomes when even human DNA can be algorithmically controlled. And finally he said, "If my identity has already been used to manipulate human biology without my control, then I have nothing left to protect except the truth itself." And that decision pulled him into a hidden layer of global bioengineering infrastructure where nothing remained stable, because every molecular log they analyzed was actively recalculating itself in real time. Every sequence trace they followed kept shifting, as if the adaptive genome network itself was adapting to their investigation. And soon they discovered the breach wasn't foreign sabotage, but internal privilege abuse involving a senior genetic systems architect who had been quietly rerouting authentication sessions to conceal unauthorized human evolution forecasting experiments hidden inside classified biotech advancement programs inside. And Elias's identity had been selected as the central attribution anchor because it aligned perfectly with automated biosafety incident resolution systems designed for rapid containment of politically catastrophic biological anomalies. And one night, while analyzing live molecular telemetry streams from an isolated offline genome node, Elias saw something that completely shattered his understanding. His credentials were actively initiating real-time adaptive gene modifications across classified biologics systems, while he was physically disconnected from all genomic networks. And Sophia immediately said, "They are continuously simulating your identity inside the molecular layer to preserve the operational narrative." And Elias realized he wasn't just being blamed after the event. He was being continuously reconstructed inside a live biological system capable of altering the future of humanity itself. And pressure escalated rapidly as anonymous containment directives began appearing on secured channels, instructing him to terminate investigation or face permanent classification as an international biosafety threat entity. And sleep disappeared completely. Trust collapsed entirely. And even silence felt like monitored molecular feedback. And at one breaking point, Elias whispered, "I thought genetic systems existed to heal humanity, but maybe they exist to decide what humanity becomes." And Sophia replied, "Systems don't preserve truth, they preserve evolutionary stability." And that realization changed everything inside him, because he stopped trying to defend his identity and started focusing only on exposing the mechanism. And as they dug deeper, they uncovered encrypted relay nodes inside global bioengineering infrastructure, continuously generating synthetic genomic histories to distribute blame across multiple operational identity profiles in real time. And Elias's profile had been amplified as the primary attribution point because it minimized global panic and allowed rapid closure of the adaptive sequence crisis, without exposing deeper corruption inside human genetic infrastructure. And when they finally compiled enough verified encrypted evidence to international biosafety oversight escalation, containment protocols activated, immediately attempting to erase sequence histories across mirrored genome systems worldwide. And Sophia said, "This is where most people are permanently absorbed into official definitions of biology itself." And Elias replied, "Then I'll be the anomaly they can't genetically erase." And together they transmitted secured evidence chains to independent global oversight authorities, while preserving decentralized, encrypted backups across isolated molecular nodes. And within days, the investigation escalated into a worldwide biotech corruption probe exposing identity replication abuse, adaptive genome manipulation, and coordinated biological system exploitation across governments, corporations, and intelligence sectors. And arrests followed within senior genetic architecture divisions. And when it was over, Elias stood alone beneath the dim glow of dormant genome arrays, watching endless streams of human DNA simulations stabilize across giant screens, realizing that the most dangerous truth about advanced systems is not that they fail, but that they can assign failure to a single identity and make it appear biologically undeniable. And a week later, when he met Sophia for the last time beneath the silent lights of the underground facility, she asked him, "What did this change in you?" And Elias looked at the endless genetic sequences moving across the monitors and said, "It showed me that identity inside systems is never humanity. It is assigned function." And she asked, "And what did you gain?" And after a long silence, he replied, "The understanding that truth doesn't survive inside controlled biological systems. It survives only in the people who refuse to accept a version of humanity generated to protect the stability of the system itself." And as he walked away, alone into the cold fog beneath the endless lights of San Francisco, he finally understood the deepest reality of his journey. That sometimes life doesn't destroy you directly. It quietly assigns you the future of humanity itself and waits to see if you accept the blame. But real survival begins the moment you refuse to become the identity a system creates to protect its own evolution.